Now that it's been around 5 months since the release of Sonic Frontiers, we have a bit of a clear idea of where Sega wants to go with the franchise next, but yet we still don't know what exactly they want to do for the next game. So I'm here today to give a few ideas. Since the release of Sonic Frontiers, we've now received the first update for the game, and a brand new April Fool's game called The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. And while not a lot, we also have a bit of information of what Sega wants to do themselves, through many interviews from Iizuka Kishimoto. Through these interviews, Sega seems pretty adamant that this open world direction is the one they're sticking with for the franchise, which makes sense, because Sonic Frontiers has had some really great sales, and some good reception from fans and critics alike. And while Sonic Frontiers is a game that I enjoyed and thought was pretty decent, and still do think it's pretty decent to this day, there are still a few things that I want changed about the game for the next entry in the series. That is mostly to do with the visual style and storytelling of the game, but also a few gameplay mechanics. The story of Sonic Frontiers 2, or the next game in the series depending on what they decide, is one thing that I want to see change the most, because I'm actually not that big of a fan of Ian Flynn's writing, and I thought the writing in Frontiers was noticeably weaker than some of the best entries in the series, but also a step above from what we got before. However, after finishing my playthrough of The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog, I was genuinely surprised by the quality of writing and the great character interactions in that game. And I think this is the team I want to do the writing for the main series next on. While still a bit heavy to references on past games, I think this style of writing is great for the series going forward because it puts the characters first and expresses their personalities in a great way. Like, even Shadow is written better here than in every past game combined since SA2. And while story still isn't an important part of Sonic to me, I think if this team got the helms of the story writing for the series, it'd be something I enjoy a bit more. But more importantly than the story is what they're actually going to do with the gameplay for the next Sonic game. Now, if you've been on Twitter or any other social media in the past few days and are a fan of Sonic the Hedgehog, you've probably heard the countless discussions about whether the next game should focus on boost gameplay again, like Frontiers did originally, or implement momentum and adventure-style gameplay, like what SA2 or SA1 went for. And this is where I have to say that I would not be opposed to bringing back adventure gameplay for the next open world title, because I do think it's a style of gameplay that works better with the open world, especially in a Sonic game. And that's not to say that Frontiers was bad, I still perfectly enjoyed that game. I do think it would be better if we could use our momentum to build speed and get to places we couldn't before in the open world. Sonic Frontiers, and in cyberspace especially, prove that boost is much more satisfying to use in a linear type of game, at least to me. The slower gameplay of Frontiers, especially in the cyberspace levels, just couldn't live up to the thrill you get from boost stages in Unleashed and Generations. And while I do think Sonic Adventure gameplay purely would be better over boost for an open world title, I still do think there's merit to combining the two, and there's a couple of ways I'd go about that. My first idea was one that I actually thought of before the game even launched, and that would be fully adventure gameplay in the open world, where you take advantage of rolling and spin dash mechanics, but fully boost and 3D levels for the cyberspace portions of the game. This way you get to see the best of both gameplay styles, and they don't overlap with one another and don't get in each other's way. In a way, this wouldn't be that different to the way Sonic Unleashed handled things. They could even instill a cool power-up animation where Sonic gets powered up with the boost as he prepares to head into cyberspace. The other way I'd go around combining boost and adventure is an idea I've seen floating around a bit, and that's the Sonic Advance 2 boost mode but in 3D. This wouldn't be the first time Sonic Team has taken ideas from a 2D game and put them into a mainline title, but it would be an interesting one to put in this time. Essentially, using your speed and momentum, you'd build up enough speed so that you activate the boost mode and get a boost for a short period of time that you can use to go faster, boost yourself off of platforms higher, and in general just reach areas you couldn't before. If implemented correctly, I feel like this is a solution that will please nearly everyone, by unifying gameplay styles and allowing for a consistent way forward for the franchise. Regardless what they settle on, Sonic Team has definitely been experimenting with these different gameplay styles, as there's even been some information about text found for spin dash animation in Sonic Frontiers. And the spin dash seems to be tied to the boost gauge, which has some people a bit worried, but I'm really not sure, and I'm going to wait to see how it's implemented, and this will probably release in updates 2 or 3. But while we wait for those, there's definitely a lot of good discussion to be had about what gameplay style the series should go in next, for an open world title. But if there's one thing that everyone can agree on, it's that the style and visual identity of the series needs a bit of an upgrade. And I think The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog proves that absolutely, because that game looks great. It has a distinct visual style that I feel is sorely missing from the main series. I've already spoken about how, as the series has gone on, the visual style between games has gotten a lot more bland and unified, and Sonic Frontiers has only taken that to a whole new level by bringing back level themes, and its original locations looking kinda boring, all things considered. There's a lot of topics arguing about which art style the series should continue in, But my stance on it is pretty clear. I believe that the best art style the series has ever seen has been in Sonic Generations. It mixes the realism of the adventure games, the cartooniness of Sonic Unleashed, and everything in between to create a visual style that I really like. And that puts forward the best attributes of the series stylistically. But for visual flair and the level themes of the actual game, I'd want them to go in a completely new direction that we haven't had before. The last time they tried this was in Sonic Colors, and I think the visual themes of that game were absolutely outstanding. So I just want to be surprised with some cool new level themes that we haven't seen the series attempt before, or going in a direction that's similar to some of the older ones, just with a bit more flair added on. I hope that Sega really uses the new manpower and budget they've obtained through the success of Sonic Frontiers to make something truly unique and high budget that's polished again. We don't just want a foundation anymore, we want something that builds on it to make a truly great experience, in all possible fronts. Sega has shown that with Sonic Frontiers, they still know how to make a good Sonic game. They just have to be given the time, budget, and manpower, as well as the direction to go in. And I feel like Sonic Frontiers has given them all of that. So hopefully with the next game, they can use all of that to make Sonic truly special once again. What I really want from the series is a true sense of originality again, because that's something that's been sorely missing in the last few entries, even if the gameplay foundation has been pretty good. And I think, as long as they allocate their resources well, they can truly accomplish something great. However, whatever Sonic Team does next, I'm sure we won't have to wait as long as we did for Sonic Frontiers originally, but for now, we can only speculate. And those are my thoughts on what Sonic Team should do for the next Sonic game. So that's it for me, Davron, signing off.